Hi, everyone. Welcome to New York College's webinar on the competitiveness of the shipping industry. New York College is an international college of Greece that exists both in Athens, Thessaloniki, and Prague. I am joined by Mr. Kotakis. The point of today's webinar was to discuss issues that concern any working professional in shipping, I would say. Mostly because these are questions that ponder in our minds. Mr. Kotakis, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation.
I don't know if you'd like to say a few words on your background and why you also are the right person to talk to us about how competitive the shipping industry really is.
I've been working, first of all, thank you for the invitation. Good morning, Alex. Good morning, everyone. I'm a naval architect and marine engineer by qualification. I'm an old student of this program. I'm currently a lecturer in different courses like the strategy and management and the vessel and fleet technical management. And I spent my career so far in the marine business, in the shipping industry, from different positions, from a shipyard point of view, but also from an operator and currently from a supplier point of view. I'm currently heading the engine oils department at TotalEnergies. It is the French oil and gas major. It's a multi-energies company based in Paris. And I can tell you that shipping has been, is, and will be the thing that adheres and connects all the other industries together, because it is actually the part that helps facilitates the supply chain and the value chain of all products that we use in everyday life. The challenges are there. The challenges are important, and I think that we will see all these, why things become more complicated and why a continuous training and being up to date to all these changes in regulations, in technologies, in the ways of doing business as well, the societal changes and the environmental requirements are necessary in order to why following all these up is necessary, so that we can be a better professional and a more appropriate citizen also for the society.
Absolutely. As discussed, very briefly, the point of this webinar, as I said, is that it really validates on questions that everyone really has. There is, I would like to start with a quick PowerPoint to talk about, bullet points that we feel really do summarize the issues. Of course, many more do exist, and hopefully through discussion and as well, students or anyone listening out there, feel free to ask any questions. Me and Mr. Kotakis are both individuals who are professionals in the field, and at the same time consider academia the right way forward for any working professional. So as with most of our lecturers at New York College, I have the introduction is basically me as well saying a few words about myself, which I don't really enjoy doing, but I will do it for the purposes of this webinar so that people can have an idea as to my background. As you may know, or you might have read already, or in the slide in front of you, I am a lawyer by profession. So I have a law degree from the UK, master's. I became a solicitor in the UK, then moved back to Greece, got a second degree in law, basically, and then obviously I'm a practicing lawyer at the moment, specializing corporate, commercial, and shipping law. This webinar is very close to my heart as well, because I am also one of those individuals, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners out there had very similar, especially the ones who are a bit older, possibly, had very similar first instance, introductions to shipping. as I tell my students as well, a lot of the times, especially the first couple of weeks in a shipping company, after completing all these degrees, I'm thinking, you know, I'm ready. I really realized how many things I didn't know, especially coming from a background which is 100% law, as opposed to understanding how a shipping company works. And of course, the ship itself is what the job is all about. So understanding a vessel, understanding how to best run a shipping company efficiently, the regulations, as Mr. Godaki said, and so on. So that's my background. I also am the head of the department, of the maritime department at New York College, where we obviously have postgraduate and undergraduate degrees in shipping. A lot of people argue that you know, one way to validate an industry is, of course, to think about how important it really is in terms of the income or the revenues it creates for a country. In our case, it goes without saying that most of these statistics are well known. In Greece, we look at major statistics when it comes to shipping. The Bank of Greece, over 15 billion a year, equivalent to almost 7% of the GDP annually. When looking at jobs as well, this is something very important, because obviously these numbers are rough numbers, even though you know, they are from very valid sources. I always think that, you know, the numbers are much higher. 200,000 jobs, both to seafarers and staff working in the country. Related businesses may include things way beyond, obviously, shipping companies, you know, supply, as discussed by Ms. Kodakis. So companies that supply vessels, or, you know, naval academies, whatever it may be, even academia, even, you know, the side of us that teachers are not the ones that actually work in shipping would be included here.
I think if I may add to what you're saying, it's actually very true that the shipping industry is so much into the Greek culture. It's a traditional industry of our country, and it presents a certain number of benefits. First of all, there's no seasonality compared to tourism, which has been the other, let's say, pillar of the Greek economy over the last years at least. And as you said, there are no signs of slowing down. What will change, though, is the type of ships we operate and the type of cargoes we carry. And this might bring considerable changes to the way we address these challenges, because we have to find a new way of carrying goods, merchandises, and we need to do it in a way that is environmentally appropriate, using new energies, new fuels, with a crew which has always been in the front line of all these technological evolutions, and they are the ones who have to implement it tomorrow on board the ships. So it is clearly a traditional industry. We have to keep this. We have to keep this momentum. We have to keep this competitive advantage that we have as a country in the shipping business, and we need to see how our people, either on board or ashore, will be better prepared for all those challenges, which are not only the environmental regulations. It is everything that has to do with the costs, also with the disruptions in the to the supply chain, to the geopolitical challenges that we're facing. Remember that there are some shipping routes that, let's say, are critical to the shipping business. And there's also one more figure that I would like to add to this, which is not related to the Greek involvement in the shipping business, but overall for the importance of the shipping industry. It is 95%. 95% of everything has been carried around us, has been carried by ships at some point in the supply chain, of course. So imagine that 95% of what we use, from the oil that the power companies use, or the gas that the power companies use in order to produce electricity, to the containerized goods, to the bulk cargo that is used in construction and in other industries. All this is carried at some point by ships.
Yep. An absolutely amazing statistic there. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it really does remain, as you said, the pillar for Greece. It's our tradition. Again, emphasizing slightly on how big Greece has become or remained in terms of shipping. So a few statistics here compared to a lot of other countries. This is a statistic published by the UNCTAD in this current year. And of course, I'm always very wary as to who might be listening to us. I say this because it's very easy to talk about these things quite extensively. I mean, I spend a lot of time just with students trying to explain not just how Greece may be successful, but obviously the legal side of things, what it means to have companies here, what the markets mean, geopolitical issues, as Mr. Kotakis just mentioned. These are issues that we face all the time, currently facing in wars, also obviously canals, routes, things that really might affect the supply and disrupt the market altogether. Nonetheless, Greece has endured. Greece has remained the strong player in all of this. So over 4,700 vessels in Greece, 18% of the world market, and obviously average of the ships 79,366 tons. Why shipping? Exactly as Mr. Kotakis said, 90 to 95% of all goods have come to us through a vessel. It's actually mind-boggling to think about, sitting in any single room and looking around you and realizing the magnitude of this business. The International Chamber of Shipping, 11 billion tons of goods transported by ship each year. So that's 1.5 tons per person based on the current global population. So that's the size that we're talking about. So of course, in understanding this magnitude, you then realize not just how this momentum has existed for so long, how important it is to have staff, members, professionals joining this industry that will remain competitive and that will help in any issues, problems, hurdles in the following years. This is why we decided today to have this webinar more, to highlight not just what shipping really is, but how important it is for people to continuously excel along with the shipping industry and its regulations and the issues that are faced and possibly things that companies or people might not agree with. There's arguments that we are overly regulated now. Nonetheless, very important, and always the environment. So the Greek flag, again, this is just to highlight how important Greece has become in shipping. The industry itself really does reflect the vessels or the companies that choose a Greek flag. In reality, of course, anyone who is in shipping will very well know that a lot more companies exist without a Greek flag, companies that remain Greek for the purposes of this exercise, but wouldn't choose a Greek flag. It's one of the top registries. According to the flag state performance table and of the International Chamber of Shipping, the Greek flag flies amongst the 18th highest quality registries worldwide. Without getting into too much detail about this, and for any listeners who are unaware as to what makes a flag a strong flag, it is very important here to to understand the regulations that go with the flag, the standards that the flag has committed to in terms of international law, the IMO conventions, and so on. Mr. Kodakis, do feel free to jump in at any point here. I know that.
I think that the Greek flag is an important issue, because the flag that a ship is flying is, in fact, what makes its nationality. It is the nationality of the ship. It is related, of course, to a certain set of requirements, again, that come with the flag. There are the flags of convenience, but there are strong national flags, and the Greek is one of them. So the choice of a flag and the choice of a classification society, a class, is what makes, let's say, the foundation to the shipping operations, because it is the positioning of the shipping company towards the market as a serious player or a less serious player. And I would like to remind at this point that the flag is linked also to sanctions. So using a strong flag, or the Greek flag, is of course a benefit compared to a flag that might be sanctioned, because the country is sanctioned at some point. And again, it is the geopolitics that kick in, and they play a role when it comes to the selection of all these different choices, between all these different choices, which they seem to be an operational modality, but in reality it is very much important. And this is something we were discussing also, I think, in the course, in the class, in the right selection on what is the most appropriate, not necessarily right, because there's not a right or a wrong answer here, but there is the most appropriate selection of a flag and the class society to serve the objectives and the ambitions of what we want to do with our ships. So there is the part that has to do with the flag, with the class, with the operation, how we will maintain our ship, in which way we will plan also her maintenance, which shipyard we will be choosing, for which reasons, at which place. It is the charter parties, on the other hand, so there are technical considerations, there are operational or commercial considerations that we have to take into account. There is also the maritime economics, which is a very important course and gives a nice overview of the whole environment, the economic environment around the shipping industry, with the different business cycles, the short business cycles or the long business cycles. And I think it gives some nice insights on why the Greek ship owners have been pioneers in the market, because they have the possibility, through their years of experience, to operate in an anti-cyclical way in some cases. So when the whole market is shorting, they're going long, and the other way around. So these are important things that help us understand and better understand our environment, and better adjust ourselves to all these challenges. So I think that this is a very important point that you're mentioning here.
Yeah. No, I mean, going back to the original point of this whole webinar, sharing the experience that although most of us have some sort of expertise or have gained some sort of expertise with previous studies or with previous work experience, shipping really is an industry where everything is interrelated. Someone joining, and I'm talking from personal experience, really has to understand all aspects of shipping before actually being able to become possibly a successful professional, some might argue. Exactly what Mr. Kodakis just said, linking the flag with the classification society, and then, the issues that a vessel may have on insurance, the flag itself giving a vessel a nationality, which also means this idea of seaworthiness through the IMO, this idea that the standards are such that most of us will will have to adhere, and there will be penalties if we don't. The Greek flag really is a very strong flag. Not that there are no other options out there, of course there are, but linking vessels to the country itself is a very important issue. There are a lot of statistics on this slide that you can see, which, there's no real reason to go down the list. There is, of course, an encouragement for ship owners and operators to consider the flag itself, the Greek flag, although even in times when choosing the Greek flag might have been harder in terms of the Greek economy and its reflection on, taxes or whatever else that may mean for a Greek flag, it remains one of the strongest ones. There are statistics here. I mean, as it says, figures come from the Lloyd's List annual survey. Last year, over 831 ships, total capacity of 36.52 million gross tonnage under the flag, remarkable 806 ships under the Greek flag. Globally, Panama registry remains a very strong flag as well, for obvious reasons that we might not have much time to consider here. But again, it's this idea of everything in shipping being interrelated. Of course, we would like a strong flag. Companies need to consider how they will remain strong and healthy in terms of, finances and so on. So choosing other ways forward is perfectly fine, perfectly legal, and an option for most. The aspects that obviously are most important to me or closer to what I do for a living are the international law stuff. So the IMO, the International Maritime Organization, that sets the rules for us to have a standard in shipping. Now, I'm well aware that law is a topic or, an area that a lot of people might not want to spend too much time on. I understand that the theory-based aspects of law, for someone especially who might be a bit more practical, seem difficult. I can say with confidence that understanding the standard is essential for anyone in shipping or any other industry, whether we like it or not. The law really is part of our everyday life. So for us in shipping, obviously the IMO is where we get the standards from, as I said, standards which are regularly amended, changed, reintroduced, and so on. Any working professional listening out there will very well know that, if we know that the IMO is introducing something, amending a convention, amending any regulations, you will be applying all of that to your work every day, to your vessels, and so on. It's come a very long way since its beginnings in the 50s, where there was obvious lack of interest, I would say, in setting a standard, when today we've gone completely the other way in making sure that everything's correct. I mean, port state control is there as an answer, applying everything as well on a national level. In terms of understanding law, I do realize that, as I said, the theory of the law is very important, but obviously the practice, also the practical aspects of law, remain essential for anyone looking to become a professional. I know I'm possibly promoting my studies here, but I do believe that understanding the basics of law do help any professional in any field, especially when it comes to shipping. Understanding not just what conventions mean and what it means not to have, valid certificates on your ship, understanding the outlines on how to apply these amendments to your vessel, how to work with your flag or your classification society or your insurance, understanding claims, understanding accidents, understanding procedurally what it means to have a flag or, an offshore company or whatever it is. So it's non-stop. understanding charter party agreements, bills of lading, sale and purchase agreements with brokers, or whatever it may be. All of that stuff is law. So a very important side, and obviously, as I said, possibly spending a bit too long on this versus other slides or topics, but it's my field and my everyday life. No one can argue with the fact that we're talking about an industry which is by default international. Anything that may happen out there will affect shipping in some way. We've already discussed issues on the supply chain in shipping, wars, politics, whatever it may be. It really could affect this industry more than others. There is a list here, which is just a way of explaining or giving our listeners a hint of what it means to be part of any shipping company or any company that is related to shipping. So it doesn't have to be a company that is a ship-owning company as such. Classification societies. I mean, any one of these issues is something to be discussed for many, many hours. I don't know if, Nick, you want to jump in at any point. I mean, classification societies are the biggest or one of the most important players when it comes to shipping. I do want to share one thing, which I usually share with my students before I allow Nick to also, give us a few of his ideas here. I strongly believe that the law is all about interpretation. So understanding or reading something and hoping that it is so clear that it's not open to any interpretation from anyone else. It is a fact that my job as a lawyer does mean that at many times, I would say, have argued with another lawyer in a courtroom because we're both reading the same thing and understanding something different. The issue here, which is very important, is that we need societies, organizations that will apply standards and leave out this idea of interpretation. And classification societies do exactly that, as far as I'm concerned, to apply standards to our ships and leave no room for the dangers of interpretation on an international level.
The classification societies, if I may, yes, it is exactly that. It is exactly setting a framework of requirements that combine all what also comes from IMO, as you said before, because IMO is, in fact, maybe people don't know, but IMO is a governing body of the United Nations. Okay, so it is, in fact, every country has a delegate there. There are Greek delegates also that defend and support the Greek interests into IMO. And there are different committees. There are 5 committees, but anyways, without getting into the details of IMO, classification societies, flags, and the whole industry has certainly at some point different or conflicting or maybe diverging interests. And the whole idea is to see how we can bring all these to peace and work harmoniously by fully respecting, of course, and being in full conformity with all the different requirements, regulatory requirements that are into force. I would like us to move a step back and see all these points, because I was reading these points. It's very interesting because it reflects also our program. We have the vessel and fleet technical management, it's the accounting part, it is the engineering part, the societies, the law, the supply chain, the commercial management of ships, environmental engineering, strategy and management. These are different domains and different activities in a shipping company or in the shipping world as a whole, because it is the shipping companies let's say, in the core of the industry, but it is also the direct environment with all the suppliers and all the different agencies and the companies that are working in the shipping business and supporting the shipping companies. What is important? There is a key word here, and this word for me is people. So these are things that people will have to take into, will have to actually realize. And sometimes people say, I remember a student who said, you know what, I enrolled to this program, but I don't really get it because I'm a chief engineer and I've already reached the peak of what I could do on board, and I know everything about engines, and I'm reading all days about engines. I said the point is not to become a better chief engineer than what you already are, is to understand maybe what the master needs, and then so when you go back to the shipping company, you need to be able to understand also the commercial management of ships. You need to understand the supply chain. You need to understand the economics and the financial part of the business, because these are the concerns of your colleagues and the people that you are surrounded by. So we have to understand that specialization is something that can be earned and achieved usually through the right studies and on-the-job training, but there is also something more global and more transversal when it comes to shipping, which is this collaboration and making sure that all different actors of the company and the internal and external customers in the company, they work in harmony. And this is something that can be achieved only if we understand the problems and the worries and the challenges that our colleague faces, and vice versa, of course. So this means that we need to open our horizons. We need to understand the shipping business globally, and this is a necessary part, not only for each and every professional who wants to excel in his domain and progress in his career, but it is also important for the shipping business, and it is also important for the ship owners and the shipping companies as well, because we need to have the right people, we need to have the right professionals. We know already that today we're in 2023, we have different milestones, we have heavy milestones ahead of us, which have to do with the decarbonization of the shipping business. And this is something that it is above and beyond what we have experienced so far. We had the sulfur. Sorry, now I'm getting a bit wider, but
no, please, because this is really important. I mean, please, yes.
Thank you. So we had a few years ago the ballast water treatment system and the requirements for how to treat our ballast, and we considered that this would be this would bring would unravel a change that we had never seen in the past in the shipping business. But we managed it. Then we had the LNG and how to handle the LNG, and we had the dual fuel engines, and we considered that this would be difficult, and we managed it. And we see that every time we had the sulfur cap, and there were many people who believed that we would never make it. We would never be able to burn a 0.5% sulfur fuel, and we did it almost without any problem. I mean, there are always the teething problems when you change something, but still it hasn't been dramatic. But every time the bar goes higher and higher and higher. And at the same time, the shipping business becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. It expands. It expands at a rate of about 2 to 3% per year. So the world fleet, which today counts about 50 to 55,000 ships, it grows every year by about 2 to 3%. If we add from the 4 shipping markets the ships that come in as new builds and the ships that leave the business as a scrap. So this means that in the coming years, the challenges will be even more intense. The bar will be even higher. The need for crew will be more and more important to find the right and appropriate crew on board. But at the same time, we will be needing more people also ashore in the companies. And these people, they need to bring in a new approach, because it becomes a traditional market which enters a sophistication phase. It is the adulthood of shipping. And we need to be able to accompany the professionals to this change.
That was I absolutely agree with that statement for sure. Yes. Very interesting. Whilst I was listening to Mr. Godakis now, I was thinking how many times I have had, questions like that posed to me by students, very similar to what was described from, first engineer. What is the future? What does it mean? What do we need to do? How can I stop, my career as a seafarer, move to a shipping company? How will I be able to succeed in furthering my career within a shipping company? What other things do I need? Just to stretch a point already made by Mr. Godakis here, not that, the list that you can see in front of you in your PowerPoint is not a list of departments in a shipping company. But if it was, at any given point, one of these points could disrupt the rest of the company. So in understanding harmony, exactly what was just said, in understanding the concerns of everyone around you in shipping, you need to have an understanding of everything around you. It's a holistic approach, but a very important approach. Without even touching on this idea of, commercial understanding generally, what is happening, out there in the world. At the moment, we're just talking about our microcosm, which is the company that we work for. The list here, we have discussed to some extent, not very extensively. Law we've discussed already. I have spent some time on that. The engineering side, seafarers, the rights that they have on board, and generally how their lives might have improved or not through the IMO, through new standards, through the MLC, whatever it may be. The accounting side of things, it goes without saying that the reason why this industry specifically is so successful is that ultimately things are done very precisely. They are done better than they were. And of course, there is a margin for profit. Of course, companies are making a lot of money. Some might argue, that depending on the market, this can change, which is very true. Things that affect shipping might affect a company, it might affect its fleet, might affect the way in which it's run. But nonetheless, this is a very important aspect. Commercial management of ships, one of the most important lessons to be learned in a shipping company. How to run it efficiently, well, and obviously making, some may argue, the best profit possible. HR is an area that a lot of people don't look at extensively, considering the importance of everything else that might be happening in other departments. But HR is what really brings these professionals together, understanding where the bar is and making sure that you can overcome the issues and strive within this competitive environment. Supply chain is already being discussed by Mr. Godakis, a very important aspect. As I said, any one of these things can really disrupt the running of any company, especially shipping. Environmental engineering is one of the most important aspects that we're facing internationally, outside of shipping, and obviously within the shipping industry itself. Strategy and management. I'm not going to say anything on that. It's something that we will discuss in a moment as well. And of course, understanding the technical side of things. From my personal experience, again, as a professional in this area and someone who essentially I took my first steps from a very different industry. I remember the first week in the shipping company, there was a claim, which was a very basic claim, I realize now, and something which, unless I had continued my studies into shipping, I would have had no idea as to what we're talking about, which of course, you know, again, goes back to the point of saying we do need to understand all aspects of shipping, not just the area that most interests us personally, or the area which we've already specialized in through our first degree. Academia. I would certainly say that, and I think most people listening and most people in the industry would argue, having a solid, strong foundation when it comes to studying opens doors. I think that statement, I mean, I'm hoping Mr. Koudakis agrees with me on this. I'm hoping that others out there do also agree. We've reached a stage now, I would say, where having one postgraduate degree is great. Most people have two already. And this continuous path on studying is something that affects all of us. I'm in the process of a PhD, or I will consider another master's degree at some point, which hopefully will equip me better for my job. One thing that is essential when it comes especially to studies in the UK, which is something, you know, there are differences, of course, in the systems here, educational systems. I would definitely argue that besides just exposing ourselves to new areas through our studies, to understanding new aspects of the same job, the first engineer understanding, you know, the commercial management of a whole of the fleet of a company. Here we also need to open our minds up to critically analyze. This idea of not taking anything given to us for granted is essential. And it's not about necessarily studying too much only. It's about not taking things as they're given to you. I think that there's a great argument here. And again, my area of expertise helps me to explain my point a bit further. The law is fluid. The law is something that will always reflect the needs of a society, of an industry, whatever it may be. Since I started lecturing, the law has changed. It's not obsolete. What we consider today to be, you know, what we should be doing doesn't mean that it's what we will be following or doing in the next 5, 10, 15 years. The reason being that the industry, society, whatever you want to call it, will require new standards from us. Critically analyzing what is given to us today is an essential point, not just because it allows for positive change, it allows for professionals to grow and always to look out for the new areas which they consider very important.
If I may add,
Please, yes.
At this point, I think it is important to understand that it's not the degree itself that makes the difference. The degree is a way of standardizing the knowledge and giving it, delivering the knowledge in a way that it can be understood and comprehended and used also. Every person comes to a master's degree or to a certain degree. Me, myself, I hold three master degrees from the University of Greenwich, as valedictorian for doing also the MBA, and from the École Supérieure de Commerce in Paris. The point is that when you enter this adventure of pursuing a degree, a postgraduate degree, you have to be ready to take the most out of it. And this comes back to the person, because there is a minimum and a maximum that you can get. Usually, people are trying to finish the master studies in a way that will give them something, but also will not disrupt their personal life. So this is important, finding the right balance between work life, personal life, and if you add also master's degree, it is important to find the right balance. But I think that it at the end of the day, it is back to the individual to push himself or herself to the limits and try to make the most out of it. And the lecturers are there and the college is there to help them in doing so. From there on, the value of the degree and the credibility and how it, let's say, how the others perceive it has to do with the individual, but also the rest of the students that have attended this college in the past or will attend this college in the future. So we're all part, as either as former students or as professors, we're all part of the of what makes the value of the program. And every person coming to this master, he has to understand that, or she has to understand that their contribution also to the value of the degree is important, because it gives an extra credit also to their effort and to their studies. So we're all part of the alumni, and we're all in a way bringing our little, let's say, our 2 cents into what makes this degree an interesting experience.
Absolutely.
What is important to understand is that shipping is a key industry for Greece, but shipping also is a very representative industry of the business world today. Meaning that there are things that will be addressed during the curriculum, during the degree, during the courses, that are extending beyond the shipping industry. And this can only be to the benefit of the attendees. And this is why we have the global shipping management, the marine engineering program. So, but I think you had a slide on this, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I think that it is important to realize that shipping is a very representative market of the business world, meaning that irrespective of whether the students will pursue or will continue a career in the shipping industry, the foundation of what and all the fundamentals that they will be taught, either with regards to the supply chain or to the economics or to the strategy and management, or even to the engineering management in the sense of managing a team of experienced professionals, or the commercial management, all these can apply and do apply also to other similar industries.
Absolutely. I would like to pick up on one thing that you mentioned again. It seems like our conversation is triggering points that I really wanted to mention anyway. You're absolutely right. I mean, I'm not very sure who might be listening to us, whether we are addressing individuals who are professionals in the field, individuals who have completed their studies in a naval academy, possibly seafarers, undergraduate students. Continuing this thirst for knowledge, keeping up with studies when it also comes to having a very hard professional life is always an issue. We have always found that because most of our students happen to be, especially in the marine engineering management MSc, happen to be seafarers, and they do have to leave for long periods of time. There are degrees which can accommodate this, making sure that, you know, if someone is away or if someone has to has other engagements professionally, 6 to 8 months of, you know, students having to board a vessel and then coming back and continuing their studies, we can do that. We've done that. So and of course, professionals that are working in offices. I mean, our classes are Fridays and Saturdays and some Thursdays after work, so 6 to 9 in the afternoons. The reason why I'm highlighting this is not to say only that we have considered this, it's to also say that making sure that you're where you should be professionally and academically, you can still do it. I mean, it's one of those things where it doesn't have to disrupt your everyday life to consider the importance of a degree. The other aspect of this is, of course, as Mr. Kotakis just said, understanding that in a classroom, everyone does have expertise. I can only reflect on my background again and my experiences with students all these years, that a discussion with someone who might specialize in something a bit different is very interesting to me. The other important thing is to open up our students to all these ideas that they have heard of, but they're not very sure of. A lot of times, you know, when I ask students, have you ever studied law before? Most of them will say, yes, we had, you know, in our first degree, we did αστικό δίκαιο, δίκαιο της θάλασσας, whatever it could be, which of course doesn't really reflect what a lawyer will be doing in a shipping company, doesn't really keep you up to date with the importance of, you know, the amendments of the IMO or charter party agreements or arbitration. Arbitration being something that, you know, whenever we discuss it in class and students have to learn about it, most of them are amazed. It's interesting that even basic things like, you know, civil and criminal law, which is applicable to our everyday lives, it's not just shipping, students haven't heard or haven't had the chance to really understand these concepts before sitting down and embarking on a new degree. I do want to highlight one thing, and this is something which I share with students over and over again. Maybe a lot of people did have, you know, similar experiences to me. Starting off, if any of the listeners are in the shipping industry already, started off not very sure as to, you know, basic things, and now feeling much more confident. I would like to stress that, you know, again, the only way to become more confident is definitely through experience. It's also through making sure that you're well equipped to face these issues, and most of these challenges will be understood through an academic setting, as far as I'm concerned. And I do stick to my guns on this. I do believe that in most cases here, the idea of having people explain issues when it is their professional career is a great advantage. I would definitely not presume to tell students that, you know, whatever you're reading is what we would do in practice, or not sharing my work with my students, because it's true, because my everyday life is the life of a professional, a legal professional in this industry, and being able to share all of that with whoever wants or might be listening, the reality of all of this, and the challenges faced every day.
I would like to.
Yes.
I would like to share just a story on this, which I think it has its value. I remember a few years ago, we were discussing in class about the new energies. I revert back to what I said before on the decarbonization of the shipping. So we're discussing on ammonia versus methanol versus hydrogen. And a few years before, we were discussing about using a compliant 0.5% sulfur fuel, or using scrubbers and keep on burning a 3.5% sulfur. And when I asked this question in class, what would you do? How would you approach this problem? in order to answer to this challenge and take a decision on your new builds. The first reaction was that, I know it's not up to me, it's up to the technical manager or the ship owner to decide. And I said, no, you are the technical manager. You have to think as a technical manager, and you have to advise the ship owner on what to do. And I think this change of perspective is what makes it interesting. To understand that we're not only the executional branch of an already taken decision, but we are the decision makers, and see how we would reach this decision and what are the things that we have to take into consideration that are clearly not only technical, that are technical, financial, operational, and that are also forward-looking with the risks that they entail. Because when we take a decision about the future, we clearly, no one has a crystal ball, so there are certain risks involved to this. So I think this is interesting because sometimes we consider that we know everything, but we know everything as an operator. And a master's degree helps in, or at least this master's degree, what we envisage to do is to give this necessary ammunition, to give this necessary knowledge to support our students so that they become the managers of tomorrow, and they take these decisions on behalf of their ship owners, or they advise their ship owners on the basis of a very solid and a complete argument base.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nico, for all of this. It is, I do always, I mean, these webinars are here to further discuss issues that we all consider to be very important. A competitive industry like shipping is an industry, as we said, that will always need new professionals. We all need to step up our game. We always need to make sure that we know what we're doing and we are able to face the future with the risks that that entails, but obviously arming ourselves academically, professionally to face these issues. I would like to always consider the long list of our alumni every time we have a webinar, because I think they are the right people to really promote, not promote in a bad way, promote this idea of equipping yourself academically, certainly, and the amazing things that they've done. We're very lucky that, you know, especially when we talk about our master's degree, these programs have been running since 2008. So they're one of the oldest, or possibly the oldest master's degree in shipping that exists, which means that a lot of amazing people have sat with us and are doing amazing things today, which we always, you know, we always welcome them to come back, talk to us, share their stories, and hopefully share their experience, what's happened in recent years, where they are, where they see the future, and so on.
It makes a nice community. I think it makes a nice community.
Absolutely.
And networking is part of the game. Huh?
Absolutely.
And I think that there are people that they have graduated, that they run excellent careers. And I'm always happy because most of our students, we see them. I mean, you know, the industry is big, but it's not that big. So, I mean, especially when there is an event like, you know, Posidonia every 2 years, or even SMM in Hamburg, I had the opportunity to meet our ex-students, our former students, running great careers. So networking is part of it, and it can be fun. Yeah,
absolutely. I certainly feel very popular when it comes to Posidonia and how people greet us left, right, and center. And it's great to see familiar faces. It is a community. It is not. It is a big industry, but of course, yes, you will see people, and it's great. I'm looking to see whether we might have time for a discussion, as we've used up all our time. which is not what we were expecting to do. If there are questions, it would be very interesting to continue a discussion again in the very near future. I do believe that we will not have time for discussion, to be honest, because I've just seen that we spent a whole hour. But thank you so much. Thank you, first of all, to all our listeners. Thank you so much, Nico, Mr. Godakis, for always being there. Do feel free to come into contact with us, anyone listening, to further discuss any issues, questions, even to meet us in person. Once again, thank you very much.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you, Alex, for the invitation.
Thank you.